Kings and queens. When I tell you that Anti-Venom is an unstoppable monster, I'm not exaggerating. This unbeatable beast can handle even the most obnoxious of archetypes that you'll face across your Commander Knights. Spellslingers, Control, Sacrifice decks, Mill. These are just a few that Anti-Venom shows some true resistance to. I challenge you to find a weak spot in this deck. The Achilles heel, the chink in the armor if you will. After hours and hours of playtesting, between games and after, to refine this deck right down to every single card, I believe I've built the most consistent Anti-Venom deck ever. Let's check out Anti-Venom. Anti-Venom Horrifying Healer for 5 white mana is a 5/5 legendary creature symbiote hero. When Anti-Venom enters, if he was cast, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. If damage would be dealt to Anti-Venom, prevent that damage and put that many +1/+1 counters on him. You can clearly see there's 2 ways of building out Anti-Venom. We're going to go with that second ability. The first ability is not completely irrelevant in case Anti-Venom does get removed, but that's going to be in an extreme rare case the way we're building him out. The second ability is where the party really is at. Let me run you through the game plan. But before I do, my name is Barris the Baristocrat. I cover every single card in the 99 of a deck and I slap a bunch of memes into the mix. Your opponents will want to play Magic. You will just want to build the strongest symbiote to ever grace their presence. After I run you through this deck strategy, playtest it in the link using the Moxfield link down below. I implore you to try and find a single hole in the game plan and write it in the comments. After you've watched this video, that is. While you're down there, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more spicy builds like this that are sure to upset your friends. Let's go through the general strategy. These 2 cards are the strategy enablers. Pariah is a 3 mana enchantment aura that when placed on Anti-Venom says all damage that would be dealt to you is dealt to enchanted creature instead. Pariah's Shield is a 5 mana equipment version of this card with a 3 mana equip cost. Both of those costs, however, we can really ignore because there's many ways we can get around that in this deck. By reading these 2 and seeing what Anti-Venom is all about, you can start to piece together what we're going to be doing. Let me show you how this deck works with a simple story. Once upon a time, there was a Commander player feeling pretty safe and snug on their first few turns. By turn 4 or 5, you bring out Anti-Venom on the battlefield, where any damage he takes is instead prevented and placed back as 1/1/1/1 counters. As this damage and attention is now coming Anti-Venom's way, we equip him with either Pariah or Pariah Shield to ensure that that damage doesn't come at you and is soaked up by Anti-Venom. This makes your other Commander players angry and they want to remove Anti-Venom even more. We equip Protection to give him 2 distinct and important keywords, Hexproof and Indestructible. We have multiple ways of doing this in the deck, but let's just zoom in a little. Do you see that dagger? These sly kids think they can sneak in a sneaky exile effect on Anti-Venom, removing him from the battle completely. Fear no longer. This is where we flaunt our Robe of Stars and other cards that have the phase out effect to dodge those types of hate crimes. Whilst this is all said and done, Anti-Venom has a free hand to equip the deadliest of equipment, giving him the kitchen sink of keywords to begin disassembling your opponents. Whilst this is all going on, there will be plenty of support pieces to ensure that in this story, you are the one that lives happily ever after. Let's move on to the deck categories for the 99 and the mana curve of this deck. You'll see many cards that will come up will overlap into 2 or 3 categories, but for simplicity, and so that we're not doubling up, I thought I'd place them in just one category that they best fit in and the role they serve best at. The mana curve also doesn't touch anything over 5 mana. This is to ensure that we're playing into the cards that best enable our game plan and to ensure that we're not trying to cast too many things at the same time where we'd like to be casting our commander. If you want to be playing some larger spells, feel free to muck around with the higher mana curve and include your favorites. Here's some that you may be thinking of including. Just ensure that you add a little more ramp and a few extra land cards to balance this out. Card draw, our first section. With these cards, you're going to be collecting more cards in hand than feathers from your local feather collection operation in Lumbridge. That's a deep cut for you. First up, we've got Esper Sentinel. 1 mana, It's a 1/1 creature. Whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless they pay X, where X is Esper Sentinel's power. We don't really have ways of buffing this, so it's pretty much just going to stay as a 1/1, but that's totally fine for us. Archivist of Ogma for 2 mana. It's a 2/2 creature with flash. Whenever an opponent searches their library, you gain 1 life and draw a card. Pure Steel Paladin for 2 white mana. It's a 2/2 creature. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. Its second ability, Metalcraft. Equipment you control have equip 0 as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. You should be able to have this before Anti-Venom comes down on the board if you do have Pure Steel Paladin in your opening hand. That way you're going to be able to slam down equipment for free like the baller that you are. Don't let no baby tell you otherwise. Sram, the Senior Edificer for 2 mana. It's a legendary creature, again 2/2 body. Whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle spell, draw a card. Buster Sword for 3 mana. It's an equipment that gives the creature +3/+2. Whenever an equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Then you may cast a spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to the damage without paying its mana cost. Basically, it means cast any card from your hand, as all of our cards are 5 CMC or less. Lauren of the Third Path for 3 mana. It's a 2/1 creature with vigilance. Whenever Lauren of the Third Path enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment. So this creature doubles up as some card draw. As you tap it, you can draw a card and make a target opponent draw a card, but it doubles up as some removal for us. Smuggler's Share for 3 mana. This enchantment does so much work for us, people forget that this card's on the board, or I don't think enough players have taken the time to really understand what this card does. At the beginning of each end step, draw a card for each opponent who drew 2 or more cards this turn. Always going to happen. Then create a treasure token for each opponent who had 2 or more lands enter the battlefield under their control this turn. Trouble in Pairs is another enchantment for us. It's a 4 mana cost. If an opponent would begin an extra turn, that player skips that turn instead. Probably not happening as we're building a bracket 3 deck. Whenever an opponent attacks you with 2 or more creatures, draws their second card each turn, or casts their second spell each turn, you draw a card. That's why it's in the deck. All 8 of these cards will have you drawing cards and throwing them around like Jordan Belfort throwing around those bucks on his 7th green day on the stock market. Remember, gasoline doesn't fuel this engine, cardboard does, so we need to draw as much of it as possible. Hexproof, right? You want to make Anti-Venom live rent-free on the battlefield while your opponents catch the strays? Here's 5 cards in this deck that are going to help us do so. First up, Spectacular Spider-Man for 2 mana. It's a 3/2 creature with flash. You can spend 1 mana to give him flying, or you can spend 1 mana and sacrifice Spectacular Spider-Man. Creatures you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Swiftfoot Boots, it's a more permanent solution to that, gives our equipped creature hexproof and haste. Bilbo's Ring is also quite an interesting card to have in this deck for 3 mana. As long as it's your turn, equipped creature has hexproof and can't be blocked, so we're going to be able to swing in and get some commander damage in that way. Whenever equipped creature attacks alone, you draw a card and lose 1 life. Often we're only attacking with Anti-Venom alone, so we're going to be drawing cards off that. It does have a high equip cost, being 4, but again, we've got many ways to cheat around that and equip it for free. Your opponents are just going to have to learn to swing their targeted removal spells elsewhere. And don't worry, we've got answers for board wipes and adjacent removal spells coming up later on too. Champion's Helm for 3 mana. It's an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2. As long as it's legendary, which Anti-Venom is, it'll have hexproof. Leonin Abunas for 4 mana. It is a 2/5 creature. Artifacts you control have hexproof. These cards really will enable our commander and attached equipment to be free from the threat of removal with layers of insulation. Michelin Man style. Ah yes, the indestructible section of the deck. Our opponents will bring those Wrath of Gods. We will bring the creature that just came out of church to save the day. Selfless Spirit for 2 mana. It has flying. We can essentially sacrifice it to give creatures we control indestructible till end of turn. Bastion Protector is a more permanent solution. It stays on the board. It's a 3/3 body. Commander creatures you control get +2/+2 and have indestructible. Boromir, Warden of the Tower for 3 mana. It has Vigilance. It's a 3/3 body. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. It's increasingly more popular with the spells that allow you to cast it for free if you control a commander. We can sacrifice Boromir, creatures you control gain indestructible, and the ring also will tempt us. Flawless Maneuver. As long as Anti-Venom is out on the board, we can cast this for free. Creatures you control gain indestructible till end of turn. Shielded by Faith is a 3 mana enchantment aura. We can enchant a creature, that creature gets indestructible. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you may attach Shielded by Faith to that creature. So we can get this out on an earlier turn and have this automatically enchant onto Anti-Venom. Mithril Coat, 3 mana artifact. It has flash, it has indestructible itself, which is great. One that we will often tutor up and whip onto Anti-Venom. When Mithril Coat enters the battlefield, attach it to target legendary creature you control, and then that creature then gains indestructible as well. What a fine card for the deck. Hammer of Nazan for 4 mana. It is, again, another super useful equipment for us to have. If we don't have Pure Steel Paladin on the board, Hammer of Nazan's first ability, Essential, enables us to have that same effect, okay? It allows us to bypass the equip cost of equipment when we first place it into the battlefield. The equipped creature also gets +2/+0 and indestructible. So again, there's a lot of redundancy, but this is to ensure that Anti-Venom sticks around and stays for the whole game. Man, I love phase out cards. Not even Thanos could snap this thing out of existence if he tried. Teferi's Protection. It's a 3 mana instant. It's our first game changer of the deck. Until your next turn, your life total can't change and you gain protection from everything. All permanents you control phase out. Now remember, phasing out means that all our equipment will phase out as well. So that way we don't have to re-equip all our equipment. Everything just sort of blacks out and sits invisible on the table. Galadriel's Dismissal for 1 mana. Target creature phases out. If this was kicked and it costs 3 extra mana to kick it, each creature then target player controls, which was usually us, will phase out instead. Clever Concealment is a similar effect. For 4 mana, we can use Convoke to bring the cost from 4 down to 2 mana. Any number of target non-land permanents you control phase out. So it's a little wider. It doesn't just hit our creatures, it hits any target non-land permanent. Robe of Stars and Haystack are 2 artifacts that are worth having in the deck. Robe of Stars is an equipment that gives +0/+3, but its astral projection ability is what we're here for. For 1 generic and a white mana, equipped creature phases out. This is a staple to have on Anti-Venom. Haystack, 2 mana artifact. You can spend another 2 to tap it. Target creature you control phases out. Guardian of Faith, the 3 mana creature with flash and vigilance, so you can always keep this one in hand if you have the mana to hold it up. When Guardian of Faith enters the battlefield, any number of target creatures you control phase out. Now, if that wasn't enough protection, we've got 8 more to really seal the deal and make Anti-Venom an immortal god on the board. We've covered Pariah and Pariah's Shield already. We've also got Leyline of Sanctity for 4 mana. It helps us deal with spellcasters that target us, discard decks that target us, or even sacrifice decks that want us to remove Anti-Venom by forcing us to sacrifice a target creature. Leyline of Sanctity can start in our opening hand, and if it does, we get to begin the game with it on the battlefield. Essentially, it gives us, the player, hexproof. We've got a few cards here to help slow down our opponent's game plans, just enough for us to set up that immortal Anti-Venom on the board. Aura of Silence for 3 mana. Artifact and enchantment spells your opponent's cast cost 2 more to cast. And at any time, once we've got some value out of that, we can sacrifice this card to destroy a target artifact or enchantment. Anything that's really breaking our deck or our ability to win the game. Ghostly Prison is a 3 mana enchantment. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 mana for each creature they control that's attacking you. That'll really slow down creature heavy decks. Silent Arbiter is a similar kind of card. For 4 mana, no more than 1 creature can attack each combat and no more than 1 creature can block each combat. The downside for us is almost non-existent. We're really only blocking and attacking with Anti-Venom alone. Mother of Runes for 1 mana is a creature, there for a little extra protection. We can tap it. Target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice till end of turn. Felidar Umbra for 2 mana. It's an enchantment aura, so we enchant a creature, being Anti-Venom. It then gains lifelink. Its ability isn't as relevant, essentially because of its final ability, Totem Armor, which says if enchanted creature would be destroyed, instead remove all damage from it and destroy this aura. So we're never really going to be using that attach cost function there. Keep in mind, Anti-Venom and the Pariah effect stop any damage coming directly at us or at Anti-Venom, but it doesn't stop life loss, anything that specifically says life loss. So if an opponent has a way to make us quote unquote lose life, then lifelink is here to really boost up our life total just enough for us to knock out that player before they get out of control. Naturally, we need to spend a few slots in the deck to cast out some ramp spells. Casting Anti-Venom on turn 4 or sometimes even turn 3 if we're really lucky can exponentially accelerate our game plan. We've got 3 artifact sources of ramp and 2 enchantment sources. For our artifacts, we have Marble Diamond for 2 mana. It comes in tapped, but it taps for a white mana. Arcane Signet taps for a white as well, being a monocolored commander. Patriarch Seal for 3 mana, it taps for any color, but we can also spend a mana to tap the Patriarch Seal, untap target legendary creature you control. The enchantments that I mentioned are land tax and monologue tax. That's right, boys, we're here to make sure our opponents pay their taxes. We have land tax for 1 mana. It's an enchantment at the beginning of your upkeep. If an opponent controls more lands than you, you may search your library for up to 3 basic land cards, reveal them, put them in your hand, then shuffle. Even if you have a full hand, always choose 3 basic lands. That way you thin out your deck. That way you can draw into more key spells that you will need to draw and play down. Monologue tax for 3 mana. It's an enchantment. Whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, you create a treasure token. These treasure tokens are great. They allow us to hold up less mana from our lands per turn to cast any instant interaction that we may need to during other players' turns. We've got 9 cards in the removal slot. This is really to ensure that any cards our opponents play that gum up our strategy can be removed. Swords to Plowshares is a 1 mana instant. It's such a staple in white. Exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. Spectacular Tactics for 2 mana. It's a new card with the Spider-Man set. It's an instant. Choose one. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Gains hexproof until the end of turn. Or if you already have hexproof on Anti-Venom, or you've got, say, 2 sources of hexproof, then you might use the second function here, which says destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. Generous Gift for 3 mana. It's an instant that destroys a target permanent, any kind of card in the game. Its controller creates a 3/3 green elephant creature token. Again, that elephant's not relevant to us. We're happy to block it and add more counters on Anti-Venom. We've got some sorcery removal as well, so unfortunately can't cast this on opponents' turns, but they're cheap and easy and worth playing down on our turn. For 1 mana, we have Fragmentize. It is a sorcery that says destroy target artifact or enchantment with converted mana cost 4 or less. Requisition Raid for 1 mana, but spree, so you can choose 1 or more additional costs. You can destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, or put a +1/+1 counter on each creature a target player controls. Split Up for 3 mana. You can choose one. You either destroy all tapped creatures or all untapped creatures. Being that we're not going to have too many creatures on the board, we can easily make sure we manipulate our board to either have them all tapped or untapped and choose the other when we cast Split Up. Now, some slightly different forms of removal that need to be in this deck or just fit best in this section. Seal of Cleansing for 2 mana. It's an enchantment that allows us to sacrifice it at any time to destroy target artifact or enchantment. It's great to have down on the board to make your opponents second guess playing particular pieces. Nemesis Mask for 3 mana. It's an equipment that says all creatures able to block equipped creature do so. This will funnel so many +1/+1 counters onto Anti-Venom that he will be able to almost one-shot your opponents if he gets a clear shot. Phyrexian Vindicator. It's a 4 mana 5/5 creature with flying. And you think, why is this in this section? But let's have a look at its ability. If damage would be dealt to Phyrexian Vindicator, prevent that damage. When damage is prevented this way, Phyrexian Vindicator deals that much damage back to any other target. That could be a target player, target creature. You can dish it in whichever choice you want. It's essentially a card that I think inspired Anti-Venom. Instead of just soaking up that damage and making +1/+1 counters, Phyrexian Vindicator is dishing it back out. Tutors. We have 5 of these in the deck. Most notably, Enlightened Tutor for 1 mana. Allows us to search our library for an artifact or enchantment card, reveal it, put it on the top of the deck. I will show you kind of what we might want to be tutoring up for that a little later on. Steel Shaper's Gift for 1 mana. Searches our library for an equipment card, reveal it, but allows us to put this in our hand this time instead. And we have Cloud Midgard Mercenary for 2 mana. It's a 2/1 creature. When Cloud enters, search a library for an equipment, put it in our hand and shuffle. Cloud's second ability isn't too relevant for us as we don't have too many triggered abilities on our equipment. Stoneforge Mystic for 2 mana. Again, when it enters the battlefield, we search for an equipment, put it into our hand, then shuffle the library. For 2 mana, this is one of our ways we're going to cheat out some of our equipment onto the battlefield. You spend that 2 mana, tap Stoneforge Mystic to put that equipment from our hand onto the battlefield. And if we have cards like Hammer of Nazan or Pure Steel Paladin on the board, we're straight up just equipping that for 2 mana. Stonewall Giant. It's a 5 mana card, which is a bit expensive, but this Giant Warrior has Vigilance. It's a 4/4 body for 2 mana. Oh, I love this ability. Search your library for an equipment card and put it on the battlefield, attach it to a creature you control, and then shuffle your library. So it's doing all the things we already want to do in 1 card alone. So this allows us to have a little bit of extra redundancy to make sure that we can draw those key pieces that have, say, hexproof and indestructible, and also those artifacts, the Robe of Stars that has phasing. Now, I can already hear what you're thinking. What do I tutor and what do I prioritize? If you're entirely unsure, first thing to grab would be some sort of source of hexproof. This is to ensure that we can't have target removal just blow up Anti-Venom straight away. After that, you want to look at the phasing options. Now, this helps us deal with board wipes or mass blink spells, because things like that are really going to mess up our game plan. Robe of Stars and Haystack would be our options. From there, you want to tutor up something that gives Anti-Venom indestructible. Mithril Coat will be the first choice, being that Mithril Coat itself also has indestructible. If you've got those pieces on the board, it's probably best to tutor up some equipment that can help you essentially close out the game now that you're all set up. Things like Sword of Vengeance or Power Matrix. If you even have that and you then draw an Enlightened Tutor, something like Leyline of Sanctity can be there to make sure that we have hexproof to ensure there's no way around them destroying our game plan. Our utility cards, like trying to fit a triangular block in a square hole. These cards just didn't really fit well enough into any other category, so I'm just bunching them up here. I guess buffs could be the choice of term, but let me show you the cards. Shadow Spear for 1 mana. It's a legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and trample and lifelink, so those keywords are crucial. Its second ability can be useful as well if our opponents have some indestructible or hexproof creatures. We can make them lose their hexproof and indestructibility till end of turn. Inquisitor's Flail for 2 mana, artifact equipment. If equipped creature would deal damage or combat damage, it deals double that damage instead. If another creature would deal combat damage to the equipped creature, it deals double damage to the equipped creature instead. You might think Inquisitor's Flail is just a win more type of card, and whilst it kind of is in this deck, it's a way that we can really make sure we're getting enough +1/+1 counters on Venom so that we can knock out an opponent before they find an answer for us or become a bigger problem that we can't stop. With so many ways to sneak in artifacts onto Anti-Venom, your opponents may not be ready for double the expected damage to come their way. We also have Sword of Vengeance for 3 mana. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has First Strike, Vigilance, Trample, and Haste. We love a good keyword soup on our commander and equip cost of 3, but again, we've got ways around that. Power Matrix for 4 mana. It's a card I don't see enough in commander games. We can tap it to make a target creature get +1/+1 and flying, First Strike, Trample until end of turn. Savine's Reclamation and Court of Ardenvale. These are some recursion to help us deal with mill decks or sacrifice decks. Savine's Reclamation for 3 mana. It's a sorcery. Return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield directly. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, you may copy this spell and choose a new target for the copy. So it has flashback 5, meaning that if you cast it from your graveyard, you exile it, but get to do it twice. Court of Ardenvale is a 4 mana enchantment. When Court of Ardenvale enters the battlefield, you become the monarch, which is great. You get to draw a card off that. At the beginning of your upkeep, return a target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to your hand. If you're the monarch, return it to the battlefield instead. And with our setup, we essentially won't be able to lose monarch if we've set up our systems correctly. So you will just continually gain value of this card. Lands, the topic often forgot about, like that pile of books you bought for your New Year's resolution. We're going to dive into the cards most relevant for this deck. Adagia, Windswept Bastion. It's a land planet, so it's a new type from Edge of Eternities. It enters tapped, but it adds a white. We can also station it, so we can tap Anti-Venom to essentially hopefully get 12 counters on it. Then for 4 mana, we can create a token that's a copy of target artifact or enchantment we control, except it's legendary. This does some work for us. If we have some downtime on our turns, being that Anti-Venom's already protecting us, we don't mind if he's tapped. We can get a lot of value out of that land. Ancient Tomb, this is our third game changer of the deck, being in bracket 3. Tapping it to generate 2 colorless, and Ancient Tomb then deals 2 damage to us. You might think, why are we including this in the deck? The 2 colorless mana won't help us cast our commander, unfortunately, but it will help us generate +1/+1 counters on Anti-Venom. Your opponents are probably going to catch on that it's a bad idea to be swinging into you. So this is a way we can fuel that engine to make sure that we can kill our opponents with maybe 1 or at most 2 swings only. Eiganjo, Seed of the Empire. It's a legendary land, taps for a white. We can channel it for 3 mana, discard Eiganjo, Seed of Empire, deals 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. This ability costs 1 less for each legendary creature we control. No harm having this in our deck. It also doesn't come in tapped, so it's great to have. Hall of Heliod's Generosity. It's a legendary land. Again, it taps for colorless, won't help us cast our commander, but this and Ancient Tomb are the only 2 that are colorless generating. Reason being is we want as many white pips to cast Anti-Venom on curve. It taps for colorless, but the second ability is crucial. We need this recursion. For 2 mana, tap it to put an enchantment card from your graveyard on top of your library. Monumental Henge. It enters tapped unless you control the planes, which we will have plenty of. That's no problem. Adds a white mana. For 4 mana, we can tap it, look at the top 5 cards of your library, reveal a historic card, which is either a legendary card, a saga, or a artifact. You may put that card in your hand and put the rest on the bottom of your library. A great way to cycle through our deck and also draw a card in the process. Nomad Stadium is an incredible land for this deck. Essentially, it's like an Ancient Tomb, but more specific to our commander. We tap it, add a white to our mana pool. Nomad Stadium deals 1 damage to you, which essentially means adds 1/+1/+1 counter onto Anti-Venom. Threshold, it says, so for 1 mana, you can sacrifice this to gain 4 life. If someone is dealing that killing blow to you, this could be a way to get out of it if you really need to. Plaza of Heroes, I know I said there's no more colorless generating land, but its second function there, you can tap it, add 1 mana of any color, spend this to cast a legendary spell. So it'll help us cast Anti-Venom on curve. It says you can also add 1 mana of any color among legendary permanents you control. Yeah, it's just white. But for 3 mana, we can exile Plaza of Heroes, target legendary creature gains hexproof and indestructible. So again, some more redundancy to make sure Anti-Venom lives. Sajiri Shelter, it's 2 mana instant, target creature you control gains protection of the color of your choice. Essentially, it's a free land to add in. The back land comes in tapped, but it does produce white. Okay, so why not have that in the deck? Witch Enchanter comes in as an untapped land on the backside, provided that we pay 3 life, or let it come in tapped. Otherwise, we can play it as a 2/2 creature that destroys the target artifact or enchantment. If you get these in your opening hand, 9 times out of 10, if you don't have enough lands, just play these early on so that the tapped drawback isn't going to be much of a problem for us. To round out the deck, we have 31 planes, and you best believe I'm going to be trying to get my hands on as many of these Spider-Man themed planes as possible. I thought I'd just cover quickly some honorable mentions. These are some great additions to increase the probability of certain keyword buffs, such as Lifelink, First Strike, and Vigilance. Basilisk Collar, just want to quickly mention as well, it unlocks the classic Death Touch plus Trample combo with a few ways that we can give Anti-Venom Trample in our deck. We also have Grand Abolisher, the One Ring, and the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale. These are great options if your play group enjoys more spice in their life, okay? If their salt tolerance is high enough, you could whack some of these in, or if you're building a bracket 4 deck. It's probably most suited for a bracket 4 deck. Lastly, Dawnsire, Sunstar, Dreadnought, and the Endstone are cards from Edge of Eternities that are quite fun to include. I haven't included them personally as they do take some time to set up. Dawnsire also helps us solve that realization your opponents might have where they never attack you and you never get counters on Venom and he stays as a 5/5 creature. This way you could station Anti-Venom to eventually unlock Dawnsire's first ability, get those 10 charge counters, then as Anti-Venom attacks, choose Dawnsire to deal 100 damage to Anti-Venom, get 100 counters, and you're going to have 105 power on your Anti-Venom.
Now that's a lot of damage!
The End Stone for 7 mana, it's a legendary artifact. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell, draw a card, which will be really fun to muck around with. At the beginning of your end step, your life total becomes half of your starting life total rounded up. Again, if your opponents aren't playing life loss style decks, this is one you can include. I mean, you can't really metagame that prior, but just know that if opponents do have life loss cards in their deck, be very cautious in playing this as this will halve your life total. If you're still sitting around 40 or high 30s, or with lifelink you've gone up to 50, 60 life, this could really damage you and put you in a more lethal spot for them to quickly knock you out. And that is all the cards. I did tell you that I'm not exaggerating that this creature is a powerhouse. I am curious though, if you do build him out and you get some games in, do come back and comment on this video. Let me know how it went, what went well, what didn't work out so well, any cards you've then included as well. I'm curious. I'm going to check up on this video every couple of weeks just to see how that goes and to hear your feedback on this card. Whichever version of Anti-Venom you're able to get your hands on, I hope you do build this 99 and I hope you have a great time with it. And that's it for today's video. At the end of the day, go out there and play what you want. Add your own favorites into the deck as well. The choice is yours. Links to my Moxfield, Patreon, and Discord are in the description below. So if you want to play test this deck before building it, go for it. Then come back and let me know in the comments any suggestions you have. If you've got any recommendations or other cards you think that would go well with Anti-Venom, comment them down below. Let us know so that whether I'm building it or others that are watching this video are building, they can see that and include that in their deck list. Stay safe, get some games in, and have fun.